All right, and I'm now recording. Huzzah!
Huzzah!
Welcome, friends, to the Unwritten Earths Symposium podcast, where I sit down with my friend, Eppy to talk about truly true role-playing games.
And I sit down with my friend, Nathan Paoletta, to stop talking about the books and start talking about the books.
The books.
The RPG books.
To stop talking about the fake books, i.e. those of accounting, and the truly true books, i.e. those of the tabletop role-playing game.
Yes, out of the world of realized expenses and into the world of unreal adventure. There we go. That just tripped off the tongue. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Here we are. Yes, we have been wrangling. I don't know if wrangling's the right word.
Yeah, wrangling. Yeah.
A little, we like to try and provide many peeks behind the curtain here. We've been figuring out how our accounting needs to work so that we can file our taxes appropriately.
Yes.
This is the first tax season for us. So Eppy is doing
as a partnership.
As a partnership.
Yeah, we've each been sole proprietors of our business, which is in the U.S. A fairly different situation than an LLC partnership, which is what we got now. So it's a future episode. A future episode, we'll talk about like what we need to do for the accounting there. I find accounting fun and interesting, but I am well aware that is not the general population, and we would like more people on our Patreon, not less. That's one thing that accounting teaches you. So we'll stop talking about that. Start talking about what you want to know.
I will say that if you have to choose someone to enter into a business partnership with, choosing someone who likes to do numbers is a strong move. I recommend it. Part of this is also to say that we did assign some homework about our mix 'em match, do this with that games that we are both still working on, but we kind of touched base about it, and both of us were like, but we had something else we needed to do, taxes or other things going on. So neither of us made enough progress for it to really be a great homework report episode.
Yeah, we got an extension.
Yeah, so we went to the teacher, we got an extension, and instead we're gonna go down the stairs, take the sharp left, head over to the part of the building that really could use a new coat of paint.
Clop, 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 clop. This is like a Prairie Home Companion. Like I want to do the full for walking down the stairs and. Anyways, go on.
Going to say down to where the real people work and visit the mailroom.
Yeah, for all your armoring needs.
Yes. We got scale. We got chain. What other kinds of mail do we have down here? Banded. Yeah, as either threatened or promised, I suppose, depending on your point of view. We have the mailroom channel in our Discord, and we have solicited anyone who had some thoughts or feedback or questions for us and got some. So we are going to take this episode to go over some of that and also related topics that spring out of those questions.
Yeah, so the first question from Andy H. We're saying people's handles online.
Our Discord is public, so if you're comfortable putting your handle on our Discord, I feel like that's implicit approval that we will mention it on our show. If that's an issue, let us know and we will not do it.
Andy H. says, loved hearing about Eppy's design rituals surrounding Lincoln Green. From our survey episode. Whether intended or not, I was especially delighted by the idea of speak not its name until it's ready. Any other interesting ritually practices that you found in your design journey? Good question. I don't remember what ones I talked about. So we might repeat them, which is good. But if you're coming to this podcast for the first time, you can check out the survey episode, which is episode number.
Well, you see, we don't do episode numbers, so you just need to look up the survey episode.
Yeah, okay, that's perfect.
Anyway, yes, the survey episode was from February of this year.
Okay.
I guess it's technically episode 31. So there you go.
All right.
It has a number even though we do not speak its name.
Yes. So I in the mailroom thread, before I realized what channel I was in and what's going on, I started talking about my litany of lies, which I feel like I've mentioned on the podcast before, but this is a document that I have for any new game that I'm thinking about doing something with. I like all these things. There's like a little barrier, a little threshold that they have. Like sometimes I have a game idea that I'm like, and it just stays in it evaporates from my brain and it never comes about. And sometimes I have a game idea and I just write it down like a sentence or two in a notebook and then never think of it again. But if it reaches a level where I'm like, well, I might do something with this, then I create this document called the Litany of Lies, which is just me freeform writing in all the things I want from the game. And this might be rules. It might be like ideas about the physical product and what it would look like, or just like the vibes that I want out of it, like how I want people to feel playing it. Target audience, like whatever. It doesn't have like there's no rule here for what goes into the Litany of Lies, except that everything in here is a lie until I make it true, right? Which is why it's called the Litany of Lies. But it's also called the Litany of Lies because in my file directory it's lol.md. Like I am MD being markdown. That's the sort of text file I type into. But like I am laughing at myself because I have hard drives littered with these. they most of these will never come to fruition, which is
the
fine.
Litanies are many and varied and long.
Yes. Because sometimes you just have to spin out an idea until you get to a point where you're like, nope, not for me. I'm good. Or like, I remember doing something about that like a year or two ago. Let me go check that out, and then jump back into it.
Yeah. I do not have a similar thing. A lot of my process is ad hoc.
Right.
I have started a more like specific idea log where I do have I have a note in my notes app, and when I have a thought, I'll put it in there, and it's just an unordered running list of some of them there's some like title ideas, like a phrase will come into my head and I'll be like, oh, that would be a good title for something, and I'll write that down. A game concept, every so often I'll wake up and be like, I had a dream where this was happening and it was a game. Right? Like
yes.
So I'll write that down, or I'll have an idea based on something that we're talking about, and then later in the day when I'm walking the dog, I'll be like, oh, I was going to say this to Eppy, and then I'll write it down in a note, and then I'll never say it to you, but I did write it down.
Yes.
So I have that, and that's just called, I think it's just, I can look at it right now. What did I even call it? It's called Game Thoughts, parenthesis, Rando. So
good. The imaginary conversation is a thing that happens to me all the time while I'm game designing, and I think that is sort of fundamental. Like a lot of times I'm imagining how the game will work, right? Like with actual players at the table, and when I do that, I often populate it with my friends. People I've played with a lot, so I have like some estimation of how they might react to certain things or whatever. These are intellectual exercises. I want to just stress that I am not like some Sherlock Holmes. Like, I'm not predicting how people will actually react to the game.
Right. You can't predict the future, but
yes.
As opposed to thinking in terms of player A, player B, like thinking in terms of like, I'm going to play with Eppy and Meg, and then like,
yeah, exactly, yeah.
What is the what's the play surface for the game where I'm where I'm sitting down with Eppy and Meg to play versus when I'm sitting down with, I don't know, Gregor and Kevin Allen Jr. Like, I feel like those are two different shout outs to all our friends. I feel like those can shape, being like, this is the person I'm thinking about, can really kind of shape like your priorities in terms of like, what am I actually trying to put forward?
Right. Yes, exactly. I do think like we're in a situation where we've turned a lovely hobby into a job where you have to sell to people. So you really do want to make games that like, not necessarily games that appeal to everyone, but like you want a fairly broad audience.
Yeah. You're thinking about audience, you're thinking about market.
Yeah.
And that can be as expansive as, I want to put this in front of people who have only played D&D and, you know, flip that switch so that they get more into this stuff. Or like, it can be as narrow as, I want all the sickos, right? Like,
right, yes.
of which there are 3, and I know 2 of them personally to play this game.
I will tell you, like, when you write a game for the sickos, you can give it a good title and they will find you. Like, if you're like, I'm writing a game for the D&D players of the world, you might disappear into the background. But if you write one for the sickos will be like, they'll be like walking down the street and just stop and turn around and go home and like get on their computer to find it. Like, they'll know that it launched.
This is like 80% of like OSR/NSR stuff, right? Where it's like, if you give it a compelling enough title and a brutal enough cover image, the sickos will be interested.
Complimentary.
Brackets complimentary.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, this thing about imagining play, but also it's helpful, like you were saying, like, oh, that's something that I should have told Eppy, and then you write it down. Like, I often imagine conversations that are just me teaching the game to someone I know, right? Like, I'm usually picking someone that I is on the edge. Oh man, I got to be careful how I say this. Edge of being able to get the game, right? Like, it's this is not like a value judgment. This is just like, we all have different predilections, right? And so you're like, hey, I've written this game. Let me see. I know so-and-so doesn't like the subject matter, isn't like into the subject matter, but would really enjoy the rules. So how do I explain to them? Or so-and-so really likes the subject matter, or be turned off by rules that are like too fiddly. How do I get them excited about these rules?
The figure of the person that you actually know is kind of standing in for like a group that that's part of your consideration of the design. Yeah, and that can be a little easier than just being like, this group of people, this abstract group of people that might not like this kind of mechanic. That's like less specific and easier to let that just recede into the background of everything else you're doing.
Yeah. And quite often during these imaginary conversations, the person I'm talking to has some good points that change the design. like, well, why are you doing that way? Like, oh, you're right. Why am I doing it that way?
Design rituals is a great phrase.
Yes.
So I've been thinking, I've been letting that kind of rattle around and be like, what does that mean for me? Like, what would be a design ritual? In terms of like, what's something that I kind of go back to as a productive thing, in over time. And I think for me, it mostly comes in my more ritualized stuff is in like playtest prep, I think. Like, I don't really have anything in particular for like when I'm have an idea and I start writing a game. Like, I tend to do lots of like bullet lists when I'm writing, and I tend to go kind of linearly of like, all right, you sit down to start the game. So what do you need to know at the very beginning? And then you go through, what's the first part of the game? And then what's the second, so a lot of my writing tends to be linear in that way, where I'm thinking temporally linear, like, and then later I'll, the organization of that text probably will change, but like, those are my first notes, but sometimes not. But when I am like, I'm going to run a playtest this weekend, I certainly have a pattern of stepping back to do a whole like kind of revision on the play materials. Like, that's pretty much my first thing every time. Okay, we're gonna do a play test. So I'm gonna pull up all my play materials I've been noodling with, and I'm like, time to do a full revision,
reset,
whatever it is, a visual overhaul, update all the text to match what my notes are or what my document is. I'm printing out sheets. I'm putting together like the packet, right? And I think that is certainly something that it is not only a functional, like, I need to do this in order to do the other thing. I think it's also a bit of a conceptual ritual of like me trying to put the project together for myself, kind of come to a coherent, like, here's what it is in my head. And I do that by doing a revision of the play materials.
It's a concrete thing, right? Like, I had a like similar, speaking of our homework, last time I showed you this spinner that I made on a little webpage thing, but like, that was a single spinner that I could flip while I was playing around with it. It wasn't connected to a database. It wasn't, nobody else could see what was going on. And I thought, okay, let's see if I can code this up so that I can share this around. Mm-hmm. So that made me thinking about putting the game into like a little web app. And I started working on like that. And I start working out what the shape of it would look like in the database. So the questions were, here's a spinner. It belongs to a game, right? Like a session, or does it belong to a single player, right? Is this player spinner? Does it belong to a character? Does that character belong to a player? Or is that necessary? Like in the beginning, I was just basically sketching out this schema based on like what my inherited concept of a role-playing game was, right? Here's a player that owns a character that's in a game, and then at the end I was like, no player needs to own any character. The spinners are attached to characters. Anyone can bring up any character spinner and spin it if they want. Why would I have to regulate that on the back end? And then that sounds like just web dev problems, but it's an interesting look at like, wait, what are we doing here with this? Like, it made me rethink the game, right? It makes you think, okay, this part, this is a thing that happened to me recently working on some sword stuff where I was like, oh, the tricks. I always thought of the tricks as like powers that the characters have, but they're not. They're powers the players have.
Right, yeah. Which is something that I've started like just saying.
Yeah.
Like you said that, and I'm like, oh yeah, obviously. So that changes a little bit how we should present them as a reference, and they should be in the book, because it's like your character has their feats heroic and their things that have a name and all that stuff. And then the player has the trick. So what do you as a player, what are you interested in doing? And
like compared to the classic game, functionally, there's not much difference, but there are things you can do now. There's ways you can play with the rules that change because now you're thinking about them in a different light. You're like, I thought A led to B, but it leads to C, and B just happens to be on that path. Like, oh, interesting. Yeah.
The other thought that I have in response to that, to your process with the spinners and going through like, how do I need to think about this for the literal like software architecture, and then how does that influence the play architecture, right? And like that's a total like surface design
it's a play
surface thing, right? Like you're working on this on this digital first surface, so which not only invites but kind of demands that you abandon some of the analog surface metaphors, right?
This is probably a future episode, but doing the playing around with this, I think spinners might be my new favorite thing. Why am I building something that trying to make it function as much like a natural spinner, like the spinner that comes in the Bullwinkle and Rocky role-playing party game? I could do anything. If you recall, the spinners I had were, the spinner was a target, like a archery target, but it was just like the top quarter of it, top right quarter. So you had a quarter of a circle, red circle, and then the next ring, which is gold, and it's a quarter of that and a quarter. And the spinner is in the middle of that top right corner. So whatever, we'll have a link in the show notes so people can see it. But if those rings were made up of different segments and those segments also spun, right? Which is not a thing I could physically make.
Right.
But digitally is not an issue at all. Like I could, and then what if you were, no, this isn't a thing I'm doing for homework, but like, what if you had like, you started assembling spinners?
I was going to say, or what if you had a thing where like, I'm able to lock this ring.
Yes.
Right. For some reason. And then that gives me something, some kind of thing. Or the other thing I thought was like, or on the back end, you can weight the spinner, right? So you could have the visual image of it can be proportional, but then on the back end, it can be like, well, it's only going to point to this degree,
right?
Radian? I don't know, whatever, this section 10% of the time. And you could either use that for good or for evil, but like that is a thing that you could do with the interface.
there is one of the things I was thinking about was we talked about this a little bit last time, where it also works with physical spinners. It doesn't have to work with digital ones, but the fact that the actual arc of the end of that arrow is the only thing that matters in that entire image.
Right.
Right. It's just that circle, that those 360 degrees. So it's like you're rolling a 360 sided die. The die is actually bigger than that because you can get fractions of degree. But anyways, the point is,
let's say that the end of the spinner can only be in a 1 degree.
Yeah, exactly.
Increment.
Yeah.
Sure. 360 sided die.
Yeah, 360. So you can assign a different color result to all 360 of them, but then the rest of the image you can fill in. Like, you could be like, there's just a sliver that is the red, that is the bad, let's say the bad result, but then you can make that sliver at the tip of like a giant image of a demon, right? It's just the little tail of the demon that's actually on the circle, but the demon area-wise is taking up 80% of your spinner.
So you feel like, oh, this is going to be like, I don't want to spin the demon because that's such... It feels like it's going to be really terrible, but the math on it is actually like, it'll be fine.
Yeah, it'll be fine. Yeah. Because part of what... we're way off topic here, but like part of what one of the things I was doing when I was programming it was after we had our talk last time, was I started adding different amount of force to how you spin it, like how many spins it goes around based on where you click, right? So like if you click further out on it, it spins more times or whatever. Now, I want to just, between you and me and our audience, the result is still like a random fraction between 0 and 1. Like it's still in those 360 degrees. It's just that.
Right. But like the number of times it goes around is going to be different.
Yeah. So like you want to build in ways for people to put their superstitions into it, right?
Right. Yeah.
Like somebody might flick it near, so it only goes around like once in a little bit, and so they're just like, oh,
it's
they
like
think that's more controlling, or
it's
the
like
other way
Price
around.
Is Right, where there's all these like strategies for like doing the big wheel.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And some people, like, you see them really honk on it, and some people give it like as minimum a spin as they can because they're like trying to get to a thing. And I think it's probably all completely,
I mean, like, random. I think it has to go. It has to go over once,
and then other than that, it's like, I mean, that has physics that need to be considered, but you could use that logic, like you could play on that logic. Yeah. All right, let's put a pin in the middle of this arrow.
Sure. Yeah.
For spinners, because I have some thoughts on spinners also, because a lot of kids games come with spinners, right?
Oh, yeah.
So a lot of the games that I play with Simone have a spinner component, and they're usually just a randomizer for a number between like 1 and 4 or something. But there's something about how a lot of them are integrated physically into. So this is the other direction.
Yeah,
you can manufacture these publications that have a spinner in them.
Yes.
Let's talk about that another time.
Yes.
Because we still have some mail. All right. And here's a question that is either quick or the rest of the episode. From friend of the show, Sam. What truly true games are you playing in or running yourselves these days? I have the short answer, which is that I am not playing in or running very many at all, unfortunately. This is a lifestyle situation issue outside of like parenting and family stuff. I have a limited amount of time that I can choose what I want to do with it. And recently I've been choosing to do things like try and run this company and run a Kickstarter and, things of that nature. Since moving out to the island, most of my friend group stuff is all online. So and a lot of people are on the East Coast.
Friend online in a different time zone.
Right. So that's all to say that I'm not running or playing in any regular things at this time. Playtest Tuesday has been good. It's been getting like a little of that juice going for me. But I mean, for a long time, and also like between long-term burnout, pandemic, new parenthood, moving, etc. I've had a long stretch of just like mostly like doing like conventions and play days and stuff being a lot of my actual like playtime, which isn't great. but this is this period in my life, and I'm just trying to keep going with what I do, with what I can do, and hopefully expand that as we go into the next couple years, as I am more excited about games.
Yes.
So,
shout out to Playtest Tuesday, by the way. That I missed the last one because more internet troubles.
And I was sick, unfortunately.
Oh yeah,
but we had a quorum, and there were some games discussed, and some ideas kicked around, and a lot of the people who have been showing up for Playtest Tuesday are also doing some playtesting outside of Playtest Tuesday that we've been hearing.
Yeah.
So, So shout outs. Thanks to everyone for keeping that up when your hosts have failed you.
Yes. No, it's great seeing it become its own thing. Yeah, I mean, like, that's just one of those things where, like you were just saying, you and I are mortal with mortal concerns and mortal time constraints and can't do all of it, but we'd like to help get it going. So, yeah, good stuff. I am a little more fortunate than Nathan here.
In so many things.
I have a weekly game that I've been playing with friends since for about 20 years, on and off. We all lived in New York City a little over 20 years ago, and that's how we met and started gaming together. And then several of us moved away. I moved away before online video conferencing. It was a thing, but it wasn't great. And also, like, you're often calling into a group that was sitting at a table and they were all in person, and that's not easy, being the one robot that's there, whatever. So, like, it for some of us, it fell by the wayside for a little bit. But then when COVID hit and we were all online, I reached out to them and we started it up again. So shout out to the Imaginauts. That's our official name. We play rotating GMs with new games each time. The whole idea for the group in the original was to just try things out, try out new games. We've started to like doing hacks of games now. Like it's fun. It's a really enjoy it. We just got done playing Slug Blaster.
Oh, cool.
Or Slug Blasters. It was fun. I really enjoyed it.
Is that why you started skating?
Yes, that's why I started skating. No, well, I mean, that's my brother-in-law's influence, what with him being a skater. But it did help. It did help that these
two things seem to have happened at the same time.
They happened at the same time. We just stopped that. So I'm running the next one, and I will be running Prince Valiant. So I'm pretty excited about that. Yeah.
Cool.
The 90s classic. But yeah, like I said, we've played so many games in the past year with that group. I can't really iterate all of them. I also have a local game that I do. Some friends of ours, their youngest wanted to play some role playing games, and specifically wanted to play A Sword Points South, which is, that's great. It's good to know. So I've been running that for that group, and that's been a lot of fun. That game I need to sit down and pound out, but I don't have the time for it just yet. So keep watching this space. And then I feel like there was one other one that I was doing.
You've been running swords, but that's
yeah, a lot of swords. That's probably what's in my brain is like and a lot of demos for swords and whatnot. And again, Playtest Tuesday, and really enjoying all of it. Sorry, I hate to humble brag, but it's good to role play.
Yeah, that's great. Someone has to do it. It's not going to be me.
Gotta take up that slack.
Yep. With all of that in mind, we have a next question here.
Yes, this is from Komu, I'm going to say. What's a game or mechanic that you really like or respect a lot, but fell flat in play, or in your experience, or maybe vice versa, surprised you despite expectations? I misread that somehow, but I think we get the gist. How much of that do you attribute to your personal taste and perspective versus the game itself? This is a good, interesting, and delicate question. Neither Nathan nor I want to actually put any games on blast on the podcast, so we'll be probably talking a little bit in the abstract, although I think I have some examples from my own design that I'm happy to put them on blast. That's fine.
Right, yeah. One way to read this question, right, is like, what games have you played that sucked? And like, that's not what
that's not what we're doing.
Actually want to talk about. I think the way that it is intended and what we're going to try to talk about a little more is like, what are some kind of memorable instances of having expectations of a certain game and then having those expectations not be filled. Do you feel expectations fulfilled?
Fulfilled.
Yeah. And that can be, in positive or negative ways. Right.
Yeah. I do have like a general failure mode that I want to talk about that like it is, I think is a personal. I don't think it's a like a thing that like, I'm not offering this as game design advice, I guess is what I'm saying. But like there is a thing that happens sometimes in a game where I guess the best way to describe it is that I get matrix vision, right? Like I'm playing the game and then suddenly the fiction falls completely out of it and I just see the math. Or math would imply that the game is like chunky or something like that. This happens, I think, more often with less chunky games, but like I just see the processes that we're doing and I lose enthusiasm for what's happening, right? Like I'm like, oh,
right, yeah,
we're just batting these points back and forth until this happens. Okay, then I have to recenter what my expectations are, and that's sometimes hard to do in the moment while I'm playing a game, right? Like I can do that if I know going into it. If somebody said, like, I'm going to take an example here. I'm going to talk about Dread, right? If somebody said, we're just going to play Jenga and tell a ghost story over top of it, I would approach that in a different way than if like somebody said, we're going to play a role-playing game that uses Jenga to resolve things. And I think Dread doesn't do that. Like, it doesn't fall for this for me. I can't explain why Dread works, but I think part of it. Wait, do I want to say that? Do I want to say I can't explain why Dread works? When I play it, I'm constantly interpreting the tower through the fiction, not the other way around. And I think sometimes when games do it a lot of the other way around, it's not that that's bad or it doesn't work. Is that sometimes I get like, oh, I'm just reducing this number. Let's just reduce this number.
Sure, yeah, and I think that can be very much a perspective thing where it's kind of like,
it's sometimes just the mood I'm in, right? Like sometimes it's just like, oh, I'm hungry. Why don't we reduce this number quickly so I can go get something to eat?
Yeah, or like I'm looking at this. I'm trying to think of an example. I feel like I've had this experience where it's like, all right, we know what's happening in the fiction. We know what the crisis is or the conflict or whatever. And now we're doing mechanics. And I'm sitting here and I'm kind of like, I see where this is going. So I am no longer that interested in doing the mechanics till we get there.
Right, yes.
Either because it is encoded in the mechanics and I'm kind of at a certain point, I'm like, we don't need to keep jumping through the hoops. Like, that's fine. Or if it's because like narratively, the outcome here that I'm seeing as most likely is one I'm happy with. So let's just do that.
I want to be very clear that like in the spirit of the question, I'm talking, and I think you are too, but like we're talking about something that we were excited to engage with. Like, it's not like, oh, you've invited me to play a game with mechanics I don't like, and this is why I don't like them. Actually excited to play this game with these mechanics, and then suddenly something happens while I'm playing where I'm like, oh. You know? Yeah,
I think an example of that, to be a little more particular, I guess, that I've had is, it's not exactly this case where you're like, let's look at these numbers and see what's going to happen. But when I have played gumshoe games, I played some nice Black Agents in particular, which is Ken Height's vampire Dracula hunting version, where you're playing where Dracula is a documentary text, and you're playing these agents who are hunting down these conspiracies of vampires and stuff. And so how Gumshoe works, right, is that there's mysteries, and it is one of the kind of texts, I think, for our current generation, where it's like, we know what's not fun, and what's not fun is being like, there's a solution to this mystery, and then blowing a roll, and then never finding out.
Yeah.
Like looking at the dice and being like, oh, you didn't succeed in this particular roll, so you don't find the secret door, so you can't go into the hidden chamber, and that's where the secret is revealed, right? So Gumshoe has this architecture of clues and spending, and you have like points to spend on clues, and the clues can be of different magnitudes, essentially. So it's more of a resource management game, right, at the heart of it, as opposed to a pass-fail gated kind of situation.
Yeah.
And I think with Night's Black Agents in particular, like that, the fictional setup is super juicy. I really love all that stuff. I specifically for the Dracula dossier thing, I did a little bit of writing for it, which was fun. So like, you know,
yeah,
it's all stuff I like. But then in play, I definitely did feel the resource management game became that like see the Matrix thing for me.
Yeah.
We have these cool characters. I'm enjoying our banter. Like we have good character interactions. The plot stuff that's happening is interesting. I am excited to have my character do their thing. Right, because all the characters have like a thing that, you know, that they're specialized in or whatever. But going through the like, okay, I'm going to spend my points out of this on this clue, and then like, oh, they're going to spend their points out of this on that clue. That stuff for me, after like a couple iterations, after doing it a couple times, starts to feel like I was going to say like the spinach, but I like spinach. Starts to feel like the like, all right, now let's do the mechanic. And the resource management part of it just didn't really do much for me. Like it does what it is designed to do. But once I had that moment where I'm like, oh, this is the part where we see who has the most available points. Right.
Yeah.
So for me as a designer, I hit those moments and I go, all right, I need my game not to have these in it. Right. Like for my particular interests and what I like in the design, in Gumshoe games, a lot of the time you're celebrating all the plot stuff and the resource management stuff is more pacing than anything else. And I guess I'm just kind of like, I don't need my pacing mechanic to also be a resource management. Like, So I guess that's an example.
I think that this is one of those things where it's like, it's not easy to say, so don't do these things, right?
I think that's the thing is in Gumshoe, that's something you can also really get your teeth into. It's kind of the vibe to me was actually kind of similar to when I was playing a lot of GURPS back in my Boston days, where it was like, I personally get to a point where I'm like, oh, this is a game where you roll 3 dice and then you know, see what happens. But you can also get really into your character build, right? And so for people who are really into optimizing the character build, it's great. And so in Gumshoe, I think for people who are really into like, I don't know if because I haven't played enough of the core game to really say, but it seems to me like there's a type of play where you're like, I want to make sure my stuff is always going to be the right stuff for the mystery. Yeah. And that's fun.
I'm looking forward to being the expert on these things.
Right.
Yeah. One of the things that, so Sword Point South, won't go into all the rules, but like a large portion of the game is the GM, who's called the Old Scholar, I think. Can't remember. Hands out fear and misery as you go along. This is a Sword Point South is a fantasy game of that is in the same frame as The Hobbit. Most people are playing it start off as just like normal villagers thrust into a thing, and they're like, oh, this is great, this is exciting, and then like the first thing that happens as they're leaving their village is that it starts raining really hard and it's miserable, so they get misery, and then they have to sleep in the forest for the first time, and there's all these strange noises and they get fear. And these are values that you gather as you move through your life, and then you do things to remove them, which are things like having a good night's sleep or enjoying a meal or joking with friends, or there's like a list of them and you can add to them. Like some of your powers are that you can, like, one character is a shepherd with a dog, and playing with the dog is a way for people to remove fear and misery, right? Because dogs are fun to play with. But my actual fears as a designer is that running that game where you're just handing out fear and misery will get tedious, right? Like in the beginning, I'm enjoying it, but as I'm describing how horrible it is to just walk, like, oh, it's not raining anymore, so it's very hot out. and you're sweating and you wish it was raining. So here's some misery, right? Like, or blah, blah, blah. The joy I have when I run that game is when I start describing things and like one of the players is like, oh yeah, this makes my character miserable. I'll take a misery. I don't even have to hand it out. They do. But like, I am walking that razor's edge for my own personal tolerance of that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm trying to find the magic formula that makes this just handing out these numbers that people later have to reduce engages in the fiction in a way that I keep enjoying it. And I know I can feel myself like on the edge about it. I'm like, I'm enjoying all these games, but I'm a little afraid that at some point I'm just going to be like, I got to hand out 12 points before the end of the session. So what do we got? You know, or something like that. So I guess what I'm trying to say about that is it's a struggle, and it might be like a fundamental struggle.
Right.
Like
yeah.
it's not a thing that I think of as like indicative to one style of play. And so I ignore that.
Yeah, I was thinking that it's kind of in the continuum. It's not exactly the same, but it's kind of in the continuum of like narrate to get a die stuff, right? Where it's like, you know, you get 2 dice, but if you for everything on your sheet that you narrate into the roll, you get another die, right? That's kind of the Wushu classic system. And like, that's super fun and awesome for a little bit. And then there's
you start hand waving it. You're like, yeah, you get that die. Yeah.
Because you get description fatigue where you're like, now how else do I get my, superlative swordsman trait into here, or, whatever. Yeah. And you get to a point where functionally everything is kind of set up to like need you to roll more than your base dice. And then so you start kind of hand waving, like, or you say like, I do the thing that I did last time. Like, there's a peak of like interesting, fun narrative stuff. And then it levels off in a like, okay, to make this mechanic work, everyone needs to make sure they say a thing. And a lot of games have solved this in different ways. I think the first time you play one of those games, if you've never played a game where you have lots of like narrative authority and you get to kind of like say everything that your character does, it's really empowering. Yeah. And then the 3rd, 4th, and 5th time you play, you're like, all right, this is the same as the last time. Yeah. So there's a little bit of leveling off there. I think I have one more maybe story here.
Sure, yeah.
That might be representative. I had a really pivotal playtest of Input the Perverse at a Forge Midwest, way back when now. All right, so in that game, you're playing this protagonist who has your imp on your shoulder, who's trying to seduce you into giving into your worst nature. And if that happens enough, you will eventually turn into a literal monster, et cetera, et cetera. So a lot of the core tension in that game is your character has all this stuff that embeds them in the world. And then you have this stuff from your imp. And those are 2 different parts of your character sheet, and there's a lot of tension between how they interact. The things that make up your character that embed them in this Jacksonian American society include relationships, right? You have relationships with people around you, family members, coworkers, religious, people in your church, political figures that you care about, etc. And so for a long time, you have those, and then you have these qualities, or your character's like stuff that they are particularly good at or that are particularly noteworthy about them. And it works by you assemble these die pools, these D6 die pools, and some are black and some are red. And then and then you roll, and the red ones are going to do impy stuff. Black ones are not impy stuff. And the proportion of which ones are successes and not like kind of drive stuff. So when you're assembling your pool, your black dice are coming from that side of your sheet. And for a long time, it was like, okay, if this quality applies, you get a die. If your relationship, if this has to do with your relationship, you get a die, etc. And it was definitely hitting that thing of like, all right, what on my sheet can I bring in, to get the best die pool for each of these things? And so fictionally, right, the counterweight on that is supposed to be like, fictionally, your relationships aren't always going to apply, but a lot of the time it's easy to kind of pull them in, right? And so we had this playtest, and like, playtest went well. Like, I learned some stuff. A lot of stuff was still in motion. But afterwards, Paul Czege was playing, and I had a really interesting conversation with him afterwards. All of my conversations with Paul are interesting, so shout out to Paul. But the thing that he said that stuck with me was that you have your qualities and whatever, fine. And then you have these relationships on your sheet. And when you make your character, you do kind of get into like, why is this a relationship that's like on your sheet?
Right.
And he had this insight of like, lots of games do this. You have a relationship with your brother, and then in this fight, your brother's life is at stake. So you bring in a die because like it's about your brother or whatever, right?
Right.
But that's not, and this is a very Paul thing, that's not how human relationships actually are, right? Human relationships are not transactional in that way, arguably. You don't get value out of other people just because they can help you in a particular moment.
Right. Yeah.
The things that tie people to other people, you get something out of it, but it's not like I'm stronger now because I love this person. It's a different kind of thing. So that led to changing how relationships in that game work to where they're a toggle. You have a relationship and it's either I'm going to look it up. I don't want to get my own game wrong. So your relationships are a toggle. Your relationship is either one of sympathy or one of responsibility. So you might have a relationship with your best friend. That's maybe one of sympathy. You're simpatico, right?
Yeah.
But a relationship with like the widow from your church could also be one of sympathy because she's someone that you like feel.
You worry about her.
Yeah, you worry about her. You kind of keep track of what's up with her, etc. Or it can be one of responsibility. Your children often may be a relationship of responsibility. A friend of yours who is a drunk, maybe you feel like that's a relationship of responsibility because you're trying to save them from themselves or whatever. And then what happens in play is that you can still use your relationships to build your die pools, right? You're risking, when you do stuff in this game, you're risking it. So you're risking the relationship as part of your die pool. But unlike your other stats, your other traits that you risk, and if they're at risk and then your roll does not go well, you might reduce their rating because, you risked it. And then, it's a consequence of things not going the way you want. If you risk your relationship, what you do with it instead of like losing its rating or whatever is you can change it from being one of responsibility to one of sympathy or the other way. So if I risk my relationship, with the widow from my church, because she's involved, whatever the situation is, something is attacking her or something is taking advantage of her, and I rush in to stop it, and I risk my relationship with her, and then one of the outcomes of the role is I changed that relationship from one of sympathy to one of responsibility. And so that's representing that the nature of my relationship with her has changed without it being like, now I don't have a relationship. Because that was the other thing that Paul was saying. It's like, and then if you lose all your points, then you lose the relationship. But that's not how you lose relationships. You usually lose relationships because of changes in you or changes in the other person. It's not often because of a thing that happens in the external world, right? That might be an excuse or a catalyst, but it's probably not. Just because you don't see someone for a while doesn't mean you don't still have a relationship with them. Like that whole thing. Anyway, I'm going on, but that was an insight from a thing that was falling flat in play. And that was very much in the realm of like, I feel like there's got to be something else I can do here, but like, I'm not quite sure what to do. And this is functional, right? You risk the thing, you get some point, you get a die, you roll, and then it's at risk and blah, blah, blah. And having Paul in particular critique that, and it was kind of a larger critique of like, games do this all the time.
Right. Yeah.
And so does yours. And here's why, it might not be the best thing. That was really pivotal in terms of adjusting that approach and making those just adding more humanity, which was the whole point. Like those should feel like human relationships. So that's kind of
I think
going afield, but that is
I think that's
what this question led me to thinking about.
Those are some great insights, and that definitely like that particular style of design, with the relationships or whatever. It is a thing that I stumble on from time to time where I'm like, okay, Point is, those are some cool insights. Yeah.
So there was some additional conversation in the mailroom, a little bit of going from that question. Other people were chiming in with some of their experiences with mechanics that left them underwhelmed. So it was neat to see the productive conversation come out of that question. Yeah. I think everyone was approaching it in the spirit in which it was intended. But we also we're not in the business of putting games on blast. So we're trying to keep things a little self-oriented, I suppose, in our responses.
The last bit in there comes from Jim Likes Games with a homework idea, which is to revisit a game you hated for whatever reason the first time you played it and see if older, wiser you can actually extract an arcade gem from the pile of scrap. And I think that's a good homework, not for next session. We've got homework already. We got our extension. May actually have to wait until you and I have a clearer schedule.
Right. Yeah.
To really dig down into that. But that's one to put in the queue.
Yeah, I'll have to think about it because I'm like, I don't know if I would describe myself as hating games.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely say that about every edition of D&D at some point. I've loved and hated that game, every edition of that game at some point. Like, that's neither here nor there. Like, I don't think that's an interesting thing to explore.
Well, maybe we'll noodle on. I mean, I think that revisiting a game that you kind of were like, there's nothing here for me, I think.
Yeah. I guess hated is too strong of a term. Like something that just didn't click with you the first time around. That'd be fine.
I acknowledge that that's probably the right term for how other people feel about games. For myself, I think if there's a game where I'm like, I don't like this, I just like never think about it again. So yeah, I'll have to think about the productive lens for me, I think, is a game that I was like, this has nothing for me, and it doesn't go into my lexicon at all.
Yeah.
But there's some games that come to mind where I'm like, I have played that game, went, okay, and I never need to play that game again. I think those are maybe games that I could revisit and see if there's anything in there that I can glean from being older and, maybe wiser, question mark. So maybe we'll pursue that for a future homework. But for now, I think we need to let the mailroom get back to work because we're standing in here, standing in the way.
We need to get back to our homework.
We need to get back to our homework. We need to go back to the dorm, do our homework. But hopefully some of that conversation was helpful. Every so often we just need to reflect on our own stuff. I think these questions have given us a lot to talk about, so we will continue carrying some of these thoughts with us as we continue on. You have any final thoughts on these, on our what came into the mailroom? Traditionally speaking, no. All right. Well, as we all well know, the Unwritten Earth Symposium podcast is by us. Go us. Our music is by Will Yobst. Thank you, Will. You can find Will over at goodluckpress.co and obviously will.com. As we've been saying, you can drop into the mailroom channel in the Discord with any feedback, questions, or anything else for us. You can also get in touch through our website. There's an email there, provost@unwrittenearths.com, and all the links to all the things. We just posted some of the updated play sheets for Swords Without Master. So if you are playing Swords soon, check that out. You might like the character sheet. Yeah. That brings us to our traditional ending question. Eppidiah, have we made a game yet? The frozen stare. Yeah, not yet. Not yet. We're getting there.